I will do that live on Facebook. It'll just take me a second because I have to add in all the info. All right, so we're just waiting here for it to go live on Facebook. And just give us a second here. It's setting up. And we're live. All right, thank you everyone for joining today. I'm here with Amy Ballantyne. I'm going to have her introduce herself and let us know what she does because she's so amazing at speaking, so she can do a better job.
Oh, thank you, Kerri. Thanks so much. Anytime we have a chance to hang out and discuss wellness, mindset, eating, all these things, it's always a good time. So I am a wellness and life coach. I work with different individuals who struggle with anxiety, challenges in their mental well-being, and really dig into areas around mindset where people are holding themselves back to create actions that can help them shift into the new state that they want to be in.
Yes, awesome. And you've worked with some of my close family and friends as well. And I know you've done amazing work with them. So I'm forever grateful for you for that. So today I wanted to talk about mindset and how important it is, whether it's whatever goal it is that you have, whether it's just to be more present with your family or to lose those 5 extra pounds that you have, and how important mindset is to that. So when you come across your clients, what are some things that come up for you that make you think, oh, maybe their mindset just needs a little bit of shifting?
It's usually the words they're choosing. So the words that we say out loud to other people are a reflection and of what we're saying to ourselves, but usually what we're saying to ourselves is like significantly worse. So if someone is sharing with me words like feeling extreme pressure, not good enough, I should do this, I need to do that, I have to do this, that is usually a pretty good sign that there are thoughts and beliefs happening that are limiting them from having the success in what they're trying to do.
And I've seen it many times in my work in the Balanced Bodies program where women are doing all of the things. They're doing the protocols that I follow, that I instruct them to do. However, they're stuck. And oftentimes it's the words that they're saying to themselves that are being put out there in the universe. And ask me this a year ago, and I would have said, oh, that's right. You and I have had this conversation. And now I'm a full believer that what you put out, you get back in. So if you're saying to yourself, if you even, let's talk about our bodies and what they look like. So you stand in front of the mirror, you get out of the shower, whether you do this and grab your towel and you're not looking the whole time, or you're looking and you're criticizing, even if you're not saying the words out loud, your body still hears you. And I am a true believer now that has a huge impact on wherever it is you want to go. So for people that you work with, oh, I'm never going to get that job. I'm never going to get that pay raise because I'm just not good enough. Or I suck at my job apparently because I can't get that raise. Things like that. And you're limiting yourself by saying those words, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the people that you were describing, getting out of the shower, really figuring out, okay, do they want to have a better relationship with themselves? Do they want to have a different way of feeling about themselves? Often the answer is yes. Otherwise, they wouldn't have started working with you in the first place, right? So taking the actions, and I often talk about it being like small baby steps or very small needle moving actions around the thoughts to rewire in the new thoughts. Now, of course, we don't want to necessarily jump to things that don't feel any truth at all, right? When we're really, so let's use the example of someone saying, okay, well, use the affirmation, I am my perfect weight, and the person doesn't feel aligned to that at all. That's a really big jump. It's better to choose a new thought that feels more aligned and is in the direction of where you're going. So getting out of the shower and grabbing the towel and saying, you know what, my body is healing and I am doing great things to help be successful on this journey, right? So instead of cringing and thinking the negative things, you know, we don't have to go so far into that. That maybe feels like, okay, this is totally not true for me yet, but moving just that baby step towards what is something that is true, that feels good and feels authentic to say, and that is in a positive state of energy, that's far more powerful than continuing to beat yourself up.
Absolutely. And it's old patterns that are really hard to change, old thought processes that are really hard to change. So on I know there's no time to pinprint this, but how long typically does it take for you to consistently be changing the messages that you're saying to yourself for it to actually for you to start believing, or for you to start seeing your clients change? How long is that typically?
Well, the answer you don't want is like, it's different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on how consistent they are with aiming to shift their thinking. So if they are very, very diligent at becoming aware of when the trigger is happening and what the current or past thought happens, if they become super aware of that very quickly and they start to rewire in the new, slightly more positive thought or more positive thought that feels aligned, and they're repeating that over and over. Remember, a lot of our thoughts and beliefs are things that we created when we were really little. And so we have been repeating them for years and years and years and years and years. So it won't take years and years and years to shift that, because we are more aware, we are more wise, we have more control over our thought processes. But it does take diligent focus to say, that moment that trigger happens, instead of going into that place or saying, well, I like to talk with my clients about, okay, the voice over here is like maybe the past voice, that negative voice. And we say, okay, I noticed that you came out. No, thank you. I'm no longer interested in having this dialogue with you. My new thought is this, and continuing to say that over and over. And, you know, lots of experts talk about, you know, the power of affirmations. I really have seen people have success with really focusing on one or two, and repeating those until it's like truly a habit, so they don't have to think about it anymore. They no longer find themselves going into the spiral because of that trigger, because they've spent some time on this one space. So different things work for different people, but that's what I've seen have the most success.
Yeah. And it's like anything else, you have to be consistent with it. So doing it, you know, as often as you can is great, but knowing that to change these patterns in your brain, if you do it once a week, progress is going to be slower. If you do it every day, it's going to be faster. If you do it multiple times a day, it's going to speed up the process as well. And it's how long that thought has been in your head. And being able to be aware that it's been there for a long time and it might take a bit to change it.
And this is where compassion comes in though, right?
Yeah.
Like truly being compassionate with yourself, that we expect the things that we want to change to be like this because emails come this quickly and texts come this quickly. And just because I thought it should come this quick, well, no, right? So that's having compassion with yourself is really, really critical. And then the other layer on that, and I'm sure you talk about this for habits around, your different habits you're teaching, but habits of mindset also is, how are you setting yourself up for success to remember that this is something important to you now? Because if it's brand new, it's not a habit yet.
Right.
And you haven't created the wiring that it's important. So like, do you have sticky notes all over reminding you that this is the thing? This is the thing you are now wiring in to help yourself move in the direction that you want to go.
And there is simple things to do. And I go back to Mel Robbins. I know you follow her too, but she has this simple high five habit that you wake up in the morning and you give yourself a high five. You look yourself in the eye, high five yourself. It's simple. It's easy. It's just a way to say hey to yourself. And something as simple as that sometimes can work. It just depends what it is, right? And again, you have to find the thing that works for you. I know for myself, and I give suggestions to my clients because, again, not all things are going to work for every person. So everything I leak out is something's going to grasp at one point. And I know for me, it's the same way. By several coaches, I've been guided to journal, and I have a block with journaling because I did it when I was younger and something happened and I just don't journal anymore. And I'd sit down and I'm like, what do I say? And every time I do my affirmations, it was like, thankful for my kids. I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my husband. And then I'm like, am I really? Like, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't doing it. And the coach that I'm currently working with, she recommended this book, The Magic. And I'm going to repeat this over and over again. I like instruction. I like someone to tell me what I'm supposed to do. And this book does that. I'm able to journal now. I spend about 15 minutes every morning journaling, and I write down 10 things, and it's not easy every day because some days are hard days and I don't feel thankful for anything, but it makes me think. Like, sometimes I'm thankful for my eyes because really I get to see people on the screen. I get to see the tree that's outside my window. We forget how simple it is to raise our vibration in the mornings, right?
Yeah.
So things like journaling, sometimes the high five works for other people. Sometimes doing a body scan, just standing in front of the mirror, buck naked, just like, what do I love about myself today? That might work too. It just depends for every person, right? But it has to resonate with you and you have to feel it. If you're just going, oh, Amy told me that I have to love myself, it's not really going to work. Because I've been there, I've done that, right? Like, okay, whoever I'm working with at that time has told me to do this, but it doesn't sit. So that's why it's good to have a lot of different options and sort of educate yourself on all these different things that you can do until you're like, yes, that's it.
I like to look at it also like we're taking an experiment. So that's a word that I use with my clients in this idea of, are you willing to experiment with this, to really dig in? And most of the time, the ideas are coming from them also, which makes it even more powerful. So they can feel like, okay, I came up with this idea. Yes, I'm willing to experiment. It may or may not land. It may or not be a fit, but I'm willing to give it a try for, a period of time and have that accountability to follow the process and see what happens. And I did want to layer on this idea of journaling too. I love that you're following that book. And for lots of people, I would encourage that resource. The other way that I like to keep the idea of journaling simple is it's about creating a new habit, right? So I have to celebrate you so much, Kerri, because you're one of the most inspiring people I've ever known in terms of discipline for following things. So kudos, my friend. But for people who are like, struggling like you were around journaling, I like to say, okay, that can be almost like a trigger word for some people, like you said, because something happened and they're like, well, it's never been useful. I never really follow through. I've got, 20 different beautiful journals and I never use them, right? All these things. So I like to make it really simple. And that's usually, what I'm aiming to do with clients is like, how do we really simplify the thing that's kind of getting in our way? And so the resource we always have handy for us is the phone, right? Who doesn't hold on to their phone for a majority of the day? So if you wanted to start something simply, instead of calling it journaling, perhaps just calling it checking in with myself.
Mhm.
And so you open up a notes file and you literally answer the question, how am I feeling? Right? Or pick others use the, like, what are the 3 gratitudes you have? But if you're feeling like that even is causing you to be stuck because it's the same thing you're writing every time, asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? Or what came up in that meeting for me?
Right.
What am I noticing? Really, like, general, broad, and get into the habit of, okay, at the end of the workday, if you want to release what's happened at the end of the workday and not bring it home, take the 2 minutes, but how are you going to be successful at this new habit? There has to be reminders built in that this is the new thing you want to focus on, right?
Mhm.
So reminders in your phone, reminders in your vehicle, reminders at your desk, reminders until it becomes such a habit that you don't need the reminders anymore, that it's important that you do the thing that you're after doing, right?
Yeah. I remember us having a conversation and I was like, I just can't remember to do this. And I don't remember what it was, but you're like, write it down. Why can't you write it down? I have a book right here that I write all my tasks in. But honestly, it was something as simple. I don't know if you remember, but it was something so simple that it was like, I guess I could write it in my book. Like I write everything else in my book, and it was one thing that I've now every time, and honestly, right now I can't remember what that is, but every time it comes up, I'm like, Amy would be so proud of me. I'm writing my note to myself. And it was something like pay a bill, or like it was something so simple that I
Yeah.
had to remind myself. And there's no shame in that. It's just it wasn't a habit yet. So I
Yeah.
had to remind myself. And
And we
that's
put a
the
lot of
biggest.
pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, I was like mad every time that I forgot because, oh my
Yeah.
God, why am I so stupid that I can't remember this? Well, just write it down. I write everything else down.
Yeah.
I write on my thing, legs on the wall every day, so I don't forget until it's a habit, right?
Yep.
So I started doing those things, even as minimal as they are. So I have some book ideas, but I wanted to hear from you about some things that maybe someone can do right now if they're struggling with their mindset, whether it's a negative mindset, whether it's they keep saying that they'll never lose those 10 pounds, or whether they're like, oh, this is just the way I am. I'm supposed to be busy and I never get any time for myself. Like, what is it that you would give? Maybe 2 things that you would suggest for somebody.
The first thing that I would suggest is to do like an awareness tracking. So whether you have a piece of paper or on your phone or something, really get clear on what is the statement, the words that you are using around the thing that you feel frustrated about.
Mm.
And even just a simple tally of how many times you're saying it in the day. Like really, really getting clear, because so often people are not that aware of the thoughts that keep coming up. And I mean, the story I feel like I've told a number of times around this is many years ago, I was doing these accountability sheets for part of my business and sending them to an accountability partner. And I mean, I can still remember it as plain as day that I had typed into this accountability sheet the word need 12 times.
Oh,
And she
wow.
called me out on it.
Wow.
And of course, at the time, I was less evolved as a human and I reacted because we all have those times, right? And I went into huge resistance and started defending why, all these things were happening and I needed. And I mean, like, the words were written on the page, but even reading them back to myself, it was like cringy how I needed this and I needed that. And yuck. Right? Ugh. But it was such a powerful moment for my growth to have that awareness and to see my own words, like really see, how often do we really see
Mhm.
what we're saying? Not very often, right? And how many times do we have somebody call us out on that block that we're putting up for ourselves? And that was a big shift for me in realizing, okay, the way that I am speaking about parts of my life are really impacting me. The way I am feeling about parts of my life are really impacting me. So the first step is to get clear on what
Mm.
is the thing, right? that's the first step. And anyone can do a tally sheet, right? We
Yeah.
cannot change what we're not aware of.
Yes.
So that would be the first place to start. And then the second place to start, or the second step, would be looking at that list. And let's just say throughout the course of a day, someone, it really is about, body shaming or hating on their body. And, that's one thing that they do a lot. And then the other thing is that they're telling themselves it'll never work. It never has worked before, so it'll never work now. And they've got tallies lists, and, let's say the body shaming is, 10 times in the day, and it'll never work is 25 times in the day. And they're like, wow, isn't that interesting? So that's the statement to make. Instead of judging ourselves another layer and being like, now I'm aware of it, and now I'm going to beat myself up for what the things I'm saying. Instead of that, we're saying, isn't that interesting? So we're just being kind to ourselves. We're being compassionate. We're being aware. Good job. We're celebrating that we took the step to become more aware. And then, isn't that interesting? And then the next phase is to pick one of the things. Let's just pick one thing at a time instead of loading 100 million things onto our already busy plate. And it would be to write out that statement that we find ourselves saying, this is never going to work. I've done all the work before and it's never going to work now. What is a more positive way of looking at that experience that is truthful based on what you're doing today? So is it that it may not have worked in the past, but I'm taking new actions more consistently today?
Yes.
Right? So affirm what is true, and we're choosing a better feeling thought, because continuously going around the circle of this isn't going to work, this isn't going to, I said this to a client recently. She said the words, well, it's never worked in the past. And I said, well, what are you deciding? Are you deciding that it's not going to work again? Because what are we doing here then?
Yes.
But if we are deciding that you're taking new steps, new actions are happening, and you're deciding that this is going to build better habits, then something is working. Yes?
Right. Right, for sure. The one thing you said, a couple things, I actually wrote something down just to jog my memory, but for later. But couple things that I tell my clients to do. One, I've told a lot to lately is, and I think I'm sure I got all of these from you, but celebrate the things that you did do. So I get a lot of people saying, well, I did okay. I just didn't do this, 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 and this. That's setting you up for a negative mindset. So what did you do? I drank my water today. Awesome. Celebrate that. Right? If we're focusing all the things that we did wrong or the things that we didn't do that we should have done, right? Should's a bad word. Celebrate what you did and just watch your mindset shift on that. And I catch myself, I'm sure you catch yourself doing it too. And it's like, no, what did I do today? Like, what are the good things that I did today? Let's celebrate those. If it's 1, if it's 10, whatever, just celebrate that and get that mindset going. And for me and the clients that I work with, it is a huge step in their progress because I find a lot of times those limiting beliefs is holding you back. And I'm reading a book right now called Your Body Speaks Your Mind. And it says it right in this book, like everything down from the pain in your shoulders, what is weighing on you right there. And maybe you've got a pain in your gut. I mean, I work on my gut all the time, and I'm learning that there's things that I've been doing and saying to myself that are affecting that area of my body. So the words really do matter, and your mindset really does matter. So I'm going to give you a couple recommendations of books that I've read. If you like to read, if you want them audible, I'm sure they're there, but they've really helped me. And two of them, Amy gave me herself. This one was one of the first ones, the 4 Agreements. I love this one. I've actually passed on a couple copies to family as well, because I think it's a good idea to read. And then the second one, when you gave me this one, I'm like, oh, thanks. Thanks. This is great. I read it and I was like, wow, like I loved the story. And I think I reached out to you and I was like, thank you. Because it's not one that I would have picked up.
Yeah.
So very good story, very good ideas of what your mindset does to you. And I don't want to give it away because it's like really good.
I really like when authors can figure out ways to tell a story that intertwines the message in it. So you don't
Yes.
feel like you're reading a textbook.
Yes.
You feel like you're in a story, you're in the movie, you're in the place, and you're learning the awesome things at the same time.
That was this book, 100%. Yeah. And I think that's why I was like, wow, I learned something from it. The Greatest Miracle in the World. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a story. Yeah.
That's a story. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to read that one. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'll just come over and borrow.
Yes.
This is another one. The Universe Has Your Back. Mm-hmm. So probably one of the first ones I read, this was probably the first one I read on mindset. And then this was probably the second one. And I had never been like a universe type person, but I read this one and I was a true believer after that. Mm-hmm. And then also one of my past mentors, Sarah Fennell, wrote this book, Follow the Joy. And it's actually really good too. It's all about following your heart and changing your mindset. And it talks about her story in this book too. And so again, it's got some lessons, but it pulls out real life stories that she's worked with clients with or herself. So really, really good for that too. So those are just some of the ones that I have that I probably have more back there, but mm-hmm. I've really dived into this mindset thing in the past year. And like we've said, it's not going to take a day. It's not going to take one book. I find every book you read, you take away one or two things, right? And maybe you'll implement them. Maybe they'll just be in the back of your head and one day they're going to come forward. Mm-hmm. So I do believe also that mindset is an accountability thing. So the hard things we're not going to do on our own. So a lot of times I work with women. Yes, my main focus is hormones, weight loss, increasing your energy, increasing your sleep. But I'd say 50% of that is mindset work. Mm-hmm. And nobody does it unless they're held accountable. And when women come to see Amy, it's for they're having major anxiety or they're going through a life change, or they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their life as far as careers. Mm-hmm. And you work on a lot of mindset with them as well. Mm-hmm. And the ones that do well are the ones that were held accountable. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, very much.
So we don't just need accountability for, our work that we need to do, as in like our career work, our job work. We need accountability in how we're going to be better in life.
Show up in life.
Yeah. And it's sad because I think there's this idea, same with food, is I know how to eat. I've eaten my whole life. Right. So why do I need to be accountable for it? Well, you do, because the whole science behind what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. Right. Same with mindset. It's not as simple as like, I'm just going to be good. Like we all have baggage. We all come with shit. Mm-hmm. So we need that
and accountability. All the stuff that's passed on.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. And, oftentimes when we go for a walk or we chat, we go to mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Like we end up there, whether it's mine, whether it's my kids, whether it's my husband's, whether it's yours, whether it's your husband's, your kids, everything revolves around mindset. And if we can all, just imagine what it would look like if your whole entire family had this great mindset, like how wonderful would your life be, right? Oh,
well, I'm about like, let's just make progress, right?
Yes.
Let's make progress. Yes. So I do talk a lot with my clients sometimes when they're stuck, is like, if they've got small people watching them, mm-hmm. there is so much opportunity for impact and legacy mm-hmm. around. Do you want to role model and continue this word yuckiness down to the next generation? Do you want your daughters to walk past the mirror and cringe? Like, do you want that? Most of the time the answer is no. So there's another layer of accountability there, that the reason why you want to be better is because you want to not pass on habits and thoughts and things that came from other people and other generations and other teachers, parents, like all the people. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of adults right around you. Do you want to carry those on? Do you want to carry this forward? We get to choose what we pass on. We actually, there's some things that we don't, but we do have a lot of control over, and role modeling I said to someone recently, role modeling that you've decided to make a change, that you are undertaking a personal growth journey, and things that you have said or done in the past, we're done. We can't change those, but you're aiming to be the next level version of yourself. And this is a new way that you're showing up. And can you support me in that? And having them see that, wow, that did work. And I've seen a couple of clients now where they've undertaken this change, and now their children who are adults, undertaking the change for themselves because they witnessed their mother being able to make a change. Like, isn't that the most powerful thing? We as human we have this capability of growth to role model that. Just because I did it once doesn't mean I have to do it forever and pass it on to everyone for all of time.
Yeah, I actually have a personal story on that. We could talk forever, you and I, so I'll go quickly, but I come from, like, my background is with an eating disorder, always feeling like I was fat. And I used to say those words all the time. I'm fat and fat and fat. And I didn't want a daughter simply because I didn't want her to go through what I did, but I have one and I have a son. And I was very conscious of the fact that I wouldn't say I'm fat. We never said the word fat, but it doesn't matter because I still thought it for a long time. I mean, I had them in my 20s, so I still wasn't at my peak growth period, right? I avoided the word, but they still talked about it. My daughter, to this day, we have a good relationship and she has a good relationship with food, but there are times that both of my kids will say, "Oh, I'm so fat." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I was so conscious of not saying it, but it somehow got to them." Whether it was the one time I let it slip or whatever it was,
How you walked by the mirror.
Right. And it's just amazing how it was passed down. So even if you don't say it, but you think it, it's being passed. And
you're not the only person like impacting your children also, though, right?
Right. I understand that. However,
yeah,
it's very weird that, to me, right? That, wow, I can't believe I consciously, I know I did put this out of my vocabulary for the childbearing, child rearing, I guess. And they still come up with it. And I have lots of conversations with my kids, and we don't talk about dieting. It's lifestyle. Every word we use is lifestyle. Because I don't ever want them to be on a diet. I want them just to be healthy. That's the main goal, right? So we eat healthy, and if they're going to have something that maybe isn't as healthy, that's their choice, and that's fine. You just have to be okay with it and move on, right? But it's interesting because you just said that about the words and how we're passing them on. Sometimes it's not even the words; it's just
our body language, our actions. For sure.
Right?
For sure.
So anyways, let's finish this off because it's been a while and we'll have to come back on and talk about something else that's juicy and fun. But where can people find you if they want to learn a little bit more or follow you on Instagram or social media?
Yeah, so Facebook, I would be amyballantyne.official for my Facebook page, and on Instagram, Amy Ballantyne.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I always love our conversations. So have a great day.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.